Today we're going over exercise variations for a resistance band workout. So whether you are trying to avoid sore muscles or change things up in your workout, I'm going to be showing you some changes to some classic exercises to get a well-rounded exercise routine. So what you're going to need today is a resistance band. If you need to, you might need a couple different resistance levels, but I'm going to show you what we're doing with a red band today. So the first exercise is a narrow grip chest press. Now the standard chest press, I'd have my hands wide and my elbow width, so I'm really opening up that chest and hitting these pectoral muscles much more. For what we're doing today, we're gonna drop those elbows down to your sides, still keeping your hands up. So what this is gonna do is it's gonna deprioritize some of the chest while increasing the work the tricep has to do. So still doing a chest press, but a narrow grip chest press. So my hands are gonna be high. I'm gonna try and bend my elbows as much as possible in this, still keeping my chest up. So from here, I'm gonna push out towards the front and then back. Now, if you want to, you can have the band over the top as well, whatever feels more comfortable to you. My hands come up a little bit higher than my elbows though, sort of at my collarbone level. So I'm really bending the elbow back as far as I can and then out straight. Feel this much more in your tricep, in the upper arm. Still, you want to feel tension all the way through that movement, so if it's going slack a little bit, step forward so you have tension through that entire movement. And that is a narrow grip chest press. Now in this one, you'll probably feel the fatigue building in your tricep first before your chest wears out. That's okay. This is a great exercise to sub in if you have a sore pec muscle, if you are not feeling quite up to doing a wide grip chest press. Doing a narrow grip lets you still use some of the chest, but it doesn't put so much of the force into that chest muscle that you're really breaking down a sore muscle before it has the chance to heal. So hang on a moment. All right, so our next exercise is a wide grip row. So the wide grip row, rather than pulling back to the rib cage, I'm actually going to bring my elbows up so my thumbs are pointed in. So I've got my hands still starting at shoulder level, but I'm pulling up and keeping my hands up at shoulder level. So thumbs in, pinching wide so my hands don't come in narrow, they're up here in line with my elbow like this. So what that's going to do is it's going to really target this middle trap and these retractors in the shoulder. So we're working much more of the muscles around the shoulder blade. So still aiming for the same rep amount of around 10 reps, but you might need to adjust the weight a little bit down for this because the traps are slightly smaller muscles than the lats. And you should feel that pinching the shoulder blades together. So I'm pulling out wide, keeping my elbows high. Still letting my shoulders come all the way back forward and then pulling back into that pinch. That's a wide grip row. So those are two of our upper body exercises. We'll start with those and then we'll move to some lower body exercises. So what I'm gonna do is add an extra band to increase the resistance. That was our warm-up set, getting used to the exercise, getting some blood flow into the muscle. Now we're gonna move to a heavier weight. Now, if it was challenging at that weight for you, stick with that resistance band, but if you need to, I'd take that chance to up the weight. We always want to go to where we're challenged, where the muscle feels tired by the end of the movement. So you should be able to do at least 5 reps, but it should be tiring by about 10. That's a good place to shoot for. So I like to have my hands over the top so the band's not rubbing against my rib cage. Make sure it's even. Step forward till you feel tension pulling you back. Elbows tucked in at your sides, and you're gonna push out towards the front. Now, if you want to, you can step 1 foot forward if you feel like it's pulling you off balance. So this is that narrow grip. Some people go so narrow with the narrow grip that you actually aren't working the tricep as effectively anymore. The important thing is your hands are in line with your elbows. So you don't need to go any narrower than that. The wider you go, the more that chest is the dominant muscle. And going narrower makes it so that tricep is the more dominant muscle. Still work some chest. You should feel it a little bit in your chest, but most of this is in the back of the arm. That's probably what's gonna give out first, because we're putting all that tension through the tricep. Going to where you feel the muscle get tired. So if you're doing so many reps that you're getting up to 30 before the muscle gets tired, it means you need to go to a heavier band. And going into wide grip rows. So on this, I like to keep the same resistance, because that way I can go from one to the next exercise very quickly. I might do different reps on each exercise though, because the muscles can be more developed on one side than the other. That's okay. Just do as many reps as you can. You should feel tired in that muscle. So we're keeping those elbows high up at chest height to really engage those traps in the upper back between the shoulder blades. Trying for at least 5, but if you can, get to 10 or higher. So 10 reps. And relax. So that was our first set of chest press and row. We do those as a set because we're working both directions one is working, the other is resting, so we're able to get through the workout much faster that way. It's called a superset to do it with those pairs of exercises. So now we're gonna go right back into a narrow grip chest press. So elbows tied in at your rib cage, stepping out till you feel tension pulling you back. And from here, you're going to straighten your arms out to the front. Remember, your hands are a little higher than your elbows as you come back, really trying to bend that elbow. Feel that in that tricep. Still keeping that chest up. Hands at about your collarbone level. It's a little bit like a skull crusher, just a very low skull crusher. So we get more of that chest. Two more. And now going right back into rows. So this is set number 2 of rows. We're going to go for 3 sets today. So arms all the way out in front of you, pulling back, pinching the shoulder blades together. Now we're still engaging the lats some in this, but it's more of those traps, the muscles between the shoulder blades. The lats are down by your rib cage. The traps are up in your upper shoulders. Really trying to keep your hands wide. One more. And relax. So set number 2, we're gonna try for a third set. So, setting up just like a chest press, keep your chest up, but we're going to tuck elbows into your sides with the hands staying still at shoulder level. So pushing out towards the front, really extend those elbows, bend the elbows all the way back. So you want to try and almost touch your forearm to your bicep. And that's going to get that high tension in your tricep to really emphasize that tricep activation. So really bending those elbows all the way to your bicep. The higher you go, the more tension it is in your bicep, or your tricep rather. But for this one, we're keeping it about shoulder level, where the chest is still involved. So we're still getting the chest, but it's more of an emphasis on that tricep muscle in the back of your arm. And relax. And going to a wide grip row, putting more of that emphasis on the retractors of the shoulder, these trap muscles back in here. So bringing your thumbs pointed in so your elbows stay high at your shoulders, stepping back till you feel that tension pulling you forward. And from here, you're gonna pull back to your chest. So really trying to bend that elbow now and pinch the shoulder blades together. So we're working those muscles around the shoulder blade to stabilize that shoulder blade. So imagine like you have a pencil between your shoulder blades and you're pinching that pencil, trying to hold onto it. So pinch that and then back. Going until you feel that fatigue in the muscle. If you feel like it's slowing down, that's a good indicator that you are hitting the muscle effectively, or you are working the muscle effectively, where you're hitting that muscle failure point. So that was 2 exercises that cover the upper body. Now we're going to shift to the lower body. I'm gonna take one of these bands off for a moment and grab a quick sip of water. So now we're going to do a wide stance squat, or a sumo stance squat. This will emphasize those adductor muscles on the inner part of your thigh. We're still gonna work the front of the thigh, still the muscles in the back of the hip, but it's gonna emphasize more of those adductors, those inner thigh muscles. So to do this, we're going to take a very wide stance. So try and go wider than your shoulders, preferably double shoulder width. Now the thing with the band on this one is we want to make sure that it's even on both sides. So from here, what I'm going to do is bend my knees, going as low down as I can. Now, the important thing in this is you don't want your knees to buckle inwards. So push out against the band, should keep in contact with that band the whole time. So going down and then back up. This is working those inner thigh muscles especially, going as low to the ground as you can. So this is a sumo squat, really emphasizing those adductor muscles. So don't let your knee buckle in, keep it out to protect your knee. Actually keeps the ligaments and meniscus in your knee from tearing, and it keeps all that pressure off of those ligaments to do that. So keep your knees out. We're doing about 10 of these. You should really feel that opening up in the inner part of your thigh, all the way into your hips. And one more. And relax. So now, still standing right in the middle of the band, we're gonna do a good morning. Now, this is a variation on stiff-legged deadlift. So stiff-legged deadlift, my hands are down here, I'm pushing my hips back, keeping my back flat. For a good morning, my hands are up by the shoulders. Now what this is gonna do is it's going to add my spinal muscles into this exercise a bit more. So I'm strengthening those spinal muscles because the tension's up here. I have more axial loading on my spine. So it's important on this though, stay flat backed. So we're bending at the hips. I'm not bending at my back at all. I'm bending at the hips, pushing the hips back, coming back up straight. So the good morning adds that extra spinal strength, that what are called the erector spinae muscles. So I'm gonna push my hips back towards, you could have a wall behind you. So drive those hips back towards the wall, hinging at the hips. Don't think about bending forward, think about pushing your hips backwards. So my legs stay straight, push my hips to the back, engaging more of those spinal muscles. Now if you want to, you could have your hands where the bands are in front as well. That's more comfortable. Doing about 10 of these. Remember, more than 5, aiming for around 10. As long as you can do more than 5, that's the appropriate resistance for you. And I would look up because that helps you keep your spine straight. And relax. All right, grab a sip of water. So with those 2 exercises, we're gonna be covering a lot of the muscles in your lower body. So we're gonna go back to a sumo squat. So I like to have my hands up here, then step out to the sides. I find it's a little easier to get into this position like that. So keeping the knees out in line with the toes. So if my feet are pointed this direction, my knees go in the same direction. So I don't want my knees to buckle in, and I don't want them to not bend. I want them to bend in the same direction my toes are pointing. So from here, bending your knees, going down in that sumo squat position. Really emphasizing that inner thigh muscle. So I'm pushing my hips back so my back stays straight. I'm imagining like I have a line from my head down through my hips that doesn't bend. It stays straight all the way through my spine. Same thing for both these exercises. We're protecting that spine. Going as low as you can, trying to bring your hips all the way down to your knee height. If you can, bring your elbows down to your knees. Oh, you got it. And going until you feel tired in your legs. And relax. Now, if you're just starting out with me, welcome. Good job for being here and doing this workout with. If it feels like it's too tiring to do 3 sets of these, don't worry. Start with 1 or 2 sets. That is excellent to start with and build up as you go. So if this is your first workout, I would start with 1 set and see how you feel. It's much better to start moderate and not injure yourself rather than going too heavy too fast. So really trying to emphasize getting the movement pattern down. So you're gonna push your hips back, really trying to keep your legs straight. This is working those hamstrings, the back muscles, and the hip muscles. So I'm at this up high enough where I feel constant tension all the way through that movement. Go until you feel tired in those hamstrings and the back muscles, whichever one feels tired first, and then you stop. And relax. All right, we've got 1 more set to do. So take a quick second to catch your breath if you need to. It is okay to pause between sets. Grab a drink of water, catch your breath, because that's gonna help you maintain good technique all the way through, which is the most important thing. Injuries happen when technique breaks down. It's much more common for injuries to occur when something shifts because we get tired. So in that one, if the back starts to round, people might suddenly have back pain because they lost technique. So it's better to take the time between sets, rest a moment, then come back strong. Usually it takes maybe a minute or 2. 2 minutes is fine. You don't want to take forever in the gym, so I would try and say about 2 minutes, set a timer or whatever works for you, because it's very easy if you pull out the phone, start scrolling on the phone for 15-20 minutes go by, you've lost your workout time. So we want to keep on going, keep that momentum going as much as we can, as long as we're not sacrificing technique. That is the one thing we don't want to do, is sacrifice technique. So going into a wide stance, doing a sumo squat. Hands up here for constant tension in the band. This is our last set of sumo squat. Knees out, bending your knees all the way down to where your hips are at knee level. Going down and up. Working more of that inner thigh muscle. Now, if you have tight adductors, you might feel a stretch down here at the bottom. That is okay. Just go to where you feel that stretch and then come back up. And as you're doing this, you might feel like you can go a little lower each time. And try and push yourself just a little lower so you're gaining both strength and flexibility. So you're building that flexibility, strength in a low range, which is so good for your joint. So you're not just strong, but you're also strong in a flexed position. So pushing those knees out to protect your ligaments in your knee. One more. and relax. So Shoya says, the thumbnail looking kind of funny. Greetings. Oh, I haven't actually seen. What does the thumbnail look like? I don't set the thumbnail. It just picks a frame from the live stream. Guys, sometimes it picks the funniest faces, but you know, it is what it is. So we're gonna do a good morning for our last leg exercise. So hands up by your ears or up by the top of your shoulders. This is working more of those spinal muscles to push your hips. So you're gonna push your hips back like a stiff-legged deadlift, trying to keep your legs straight and then back up. So pushing back and up, keeping that back straight, legs straight. I'm really trying to drive my hips back while keeping my back straight as possible. Now, if you feel like you can't go this low, that's okay. Some people get to about here and that's as far as their hamstrings go. That is all right. You want to go as far as is comfortable and you can keep that back straight. By comfortable, I mean keeping good technique. If you feel like you're rounding forward, don't go that low. Using a resistance band for constant tension. So you want your hands high enough where the band does not go slack as you go down. And relax. All right. So the last exercise we're going to do is for this deltoid muscle right in here using the resistance band. But we're going to switch to a lighter band. So for me, I went 2 levels down. This is about 1/3 of the weight I think that the red band is. So Troy asked, rate my split. Upper body, lower body, rest day, push, pull, legs, rest. Repeat on weekly schedule. That sounds good. It sounds like there aren't overlaps between upper and lower. So you switch from upper lower rest to push pull rest. So you're doing push pull legs rest. So you're doing that 7-day split, an 8-day split, right? So it's gonna shift you one day forward every time you do this. But yeah, that sounds like a great split. The only difference I might do is instead of doing upper lower split and then a push pull split, I might try and make it uniform between the two. So do like 10-day split of push pull legs rest, push pull legs rest. I suppose that would still be an 8-day split, or an upper lower rest, because that lets you get a 5-day split to do it that way. I like to do full body, but if you want to break it up into upper lower, the only thing with upper lower is some of the exercises work both legs and pull. So I like the second half of your routine a little better of push pull, because it lets you do things like bent over row, because your legs are not already tired out by the previous day. So I think, but if it works for you, I think that's the most important thing of any split, is it has to work for you. And that routine seems like you're covering all of the aspects of the exercises. So you're mixing it up, and I think that works. So if that works for your schedule, that seems like a very good split. You're covering everything, you're getting what you need to. All right, so for the deltoid muscle, we're gonna do a crossover lateral raise. So what I'm gonna do is I'm making an X with the bands in front of me. And what that does is it pulls the hands inwards as well as down. It's gonna get a more effective exercise into that deltoid muscle for the lateral raise. So, stepping in the middle of the band, cross the hands, and from here, you're gonna pull out to the sides, lifting up to shoulder height and back down. Now on this, you can lift higher than the shoulders, but we already hit the traps, and that upper range more emphasizes the traps. So for this, we're really targeting in that shoulder muscle. So real fast though, Shoya says, by the way, tell me something about lower back pain. I hurt myself during deadlift. So deadlift, is your pain down here in your leg or more up in your middle back up here? A lot of people get sciatic pain if they are not bracing properly in deadlift. If you have pain, I would back off from deadlift for a little while, let that nerve pain calm down, especially if it's down here in your leg or radiating down. If it is radiating, I would get it checked out to make sure it hasn't injured something. But if you are able to do deadlift pain-free to avoid that in the future, something I would do, put your hands on your sides, and what you're gonna do is try and push out against your hands with your abdominals. So push in with your hands. That's your transverse abdominis, that belt of muscle we're engaging. So you're pushing out against your hands. That's the feeling you want to really engage that belt of muscle. And that's what you're gonna do when you're doing deadlift, is push that muscle, really trying to keep your core braced. So you're almost pushing out against it to really stabilize that spine as you're doing deadlift. And that would be something that will help brace against any low back shifting. Lifted with your back instead of the legs. Yeah, so definitely I would try and get that transverse abdominis. You can do this by either digging your knuckles into your sides or pushing with your hands into the sides. They'll help engage that belt of muscle. Now, and then once you know what that feels like, I want you to try and mentally keep that tension in your core, then go to deadlift. So you can even go like this, take a couple seconds, brace the core, grab the bar, go into deadlift. Because that will keep your spine stabilized. Good question. I have also hurt myself doing deadlift because I let that go. I had a pinch in that sciatic nerve in my left side. So now I pay special attention to not lifting with my back. It's easy to have happen, especially when you're tired. So it's important to only go as far as you can go with good technique. Such a good reminder. But good for you for taking the steps necessary to protect your back, to think about how do I avoid this in the future? Rather than how do I avoid deadlift? How do I fix my deadlift to get it right? So good job. That's the right question to be asking. All right, so we're going to finish out with a deltoid exercise, doing a lateral raise crossover. So lifting up to the sides and then back down to the middle, all the way back down to the middle. Trying to stand straight and tall. Keep looking at I'm looking at my monitor, so it looks like I'm off, but I forget that it's reversed. Trying to bring your hands straight out to the sides. 10. And relax. Called deadlift for a reason, I guess. Yeah, it's some of the names I don't get because they are not very attractive names. It's the deadlift, the skull crusher, which is intimidating, especially as someone who has never trained before. Someone throws out, oh yeah, we're gonna do deadlift today. It's like, I don't want to die, but it is what it is. That is the name a lot of people call it. When I'm teaching deadlift, I usually call it a golf pickup instead of a deadlift, where you're reaching down, picking up a golf ball. So, because I think that the deadlift is a really practical movement, because a lot of people say you're reaching down, picking up a basket of laundry or picking up a heavy box. You want to engage those same muscles. Raise with your core, lift up. It's the same thing as a suitcase deadlift or a number of deadlift forms. So with that, it's a very effective movement, but it can be very intimidating for someone who's just starting out. Or even someone who just is not used to doing deadlift. It sounds really painful. So, I don't know, guys, let me know what you think. Do you think that there's a better name for deadlift? So now going back, we're gonna try for 3 sets of lateral raises with a crossover. So burning out those deltoids, really getting everything we can out of this deltoid muscle. Lifting up to the side, and then back down. Now you should be able to do this controlled. So if you need to, go to a lighter band. So you shouldn't be swinging. Try and keep your hips forward, lifting just from those small muscles around the ball and socket of the shoulder. And relax. So an easier electrolyte mix than sugar, salt, and a squirt of lemon and water. So the lemon adds more vitamin C. The salt is a really good thing for keeping sodium levels up because you sweat out a lot of sodium. Potassium and magnesium are also in that a little bit. So those can come from salts as well, but usually like Epsom salts are a good source of magnesium. They can be a little bit bitter to drink. Some people actually take Epsom salt baths because it actually absorbs through the skin. I found sometimes when I'm really sore that can be helpful to take an Epsom salt bath to get that magnesium electrolyte. But probably the biggest one is sodium, because we sweat out a lot of salt or sodium. I mean, they're all salts, but we usually call sodium salt. So that's a good one to replace for sure. It's probably the most likely one to get low on during a workout. So doing our last set of crossovers with the resistance band, working that deltoid muscle, which is the muscle right here in the ball and socket of the shoulder. So 3rd set, lifting up to the side, going for about 5 to 10 reps. You might feel more tired on this set, just do what you can. Yeah, you technically can drink Epsom salts, but they do not taste good at all. Trust me on that one. 8, 2 more. 10, and relax. Yeah, sometimes, so for some people, they like to do a little bit of sugar in their workout drink. If you're doing an especially long workout, that can be a good one. But I think for an electrolyte drink, you don't really have to have the sugar unless you want it for a little bit of a sweet flavor. But I tend to stay away from the sugary drinks. It just tends to be, I don't have a big sweet tooth, so, but it's, yeah, if that works for you. It does help with the lemon too, because the lemon can be bitter. But if you, this is your, if that works for you, if you like the lemon, like the flavor, more power to you, that definitely works. So if you like these live streams and want to see more, I host these workouts on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 11 a.m. Pacific time. Hope to see you guys there. Keep working out, stay healthy and strong.